Hello, welcome back. We're doing, it's more of this. Alright, so if you don't like listening to us talking, then, again, why are you here? And also, please
you're
stay.
Welcome.
Please love us. No. We're going to continue on with our top 10. We're in our top 5 now, so we're down to the last 5.
We finally got there. I was kind of hoping we'd get it all into one episode, but it turns out we like to talk about games.
It turns out. And we don't want to put you through, a full, movie-length... you will if you're going to watch these back-to-back, but whatever. You can take a breather, intermission, go and have a snack.
Yes.
Go to the loo,
have a
whatever.
Yep.
Yes. Anyway, so don't marathon these. That's a bad idea. Whatever. I'm not your mum.
Okay.
All right, Maz, you're number 5.
Okay. Full disclosure, I cheated on my number 5.
You cheated?
I cheated, and this is a gameplay one. As in, what did I enjoy and sunk a ridiculous amount of hours into? So it's probably one for one of your lists, really.
Oh, yes.
Taking a lead
yeah,
out of your book
probably.
there. But it is a twofer, and it is Subnautica and Conan Exiles. Both grindy resource management, survival games, sandbox games.
Look, I'll pay that because they're very similar. In what they achieve, so I'll give you that one. To be fair, in the last episode, I did include pretty much all of the Age of series in. That's at least 4 games in there as one entry. So I'll give you this one.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Oh gracious, host. Yeah, no. Okay, these also were. I get this. The way I describe it is I get starved for a new universe. So when I've exhausted Lord of the Rings or I need new lore to dig my teeth into, and Subnautica and Conan Exiles gave that to me. Thank goodness, because yes, I like a good, ridiculous backstory to things. I like the world to feel huge and like it could exist somewhere in some time in some alternate universe somewhere. Yes, I'm that sort of gamer.
So you like the world. You want to. You would get into. Not that you play a lot of MMOs, because that's a different type of game, but you want the single-player MMO RPG experience. So you're an RPG gamer, really?
I really am. Back in the day, I did give Blizzard a fair good chunk of my time. Not so much nowadays, but even with things like the Warhammer universe, the Grimdark universes, you know, those tables. I don't collect figurines, but I do still partake in the universe.
Yeah, so you don't want just a story. You want the entire history
the entire
of
world.
lore. Yeah.
I need to know that if I play this game, there's going to be so much fan fiction I can read afterwards that
you can remain in the world because of
I can remain. Yeah. If I like the world, I hang around. And Subnautica and Conan Exiles gave me new lore, new universes in times when I was just starving for that sort of an entertainment. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's definitely two really great games. On that. Well, okay. Mine, totally left field, totally different from that. This is a bit of a different one. And you can call me out and say, that's not a game, that's just a thing. Whatever, I don't care. My number 5 is the Warcraft 3 mods. Nah, not the Warcraft 3 game or the campaign, because I never played that. I'm going to be upfront and honest. I never played through all of that. Played a little bit, whatever. The mods, this stems entirely from my LANing days. This is the staple. This is the game we have always, anytime I've gone to a LAN or help organize a LAN or any suggestions, like, well, what game should we play at our next LAN? This, going back many, many years, and as recently as a couple of years ago, before, the apocalypse, we still LAN. In the age of high speed,
we still LAN.
Co-op playing. Yeah. We
do.
Well, tried at least to get together for LANs. But look, Warcraft 3 with the mods, and I'm going to point out my favorite mods, but because there are so many. The reason this is on this list, there are so many mods that some great people made that are just fun, sometimes a little bit broken, but we love them to death because that's what it was. And back in the day, we didn't have all high-speed internet. Like, we would go and we would play locally with everybody else. We would give, maybe share copies of the game. Somewhat. Maybe. I'm sure we had all paid for a copy, a legit copy.
Yes,
I definitely did. I had a legit... That's aside. We would share the copies of the maps to each other of these mods. So my top favorite ones, just off the bat, are just Slide Ninja. So that particular mod map, you were a ninja. There was ice in a spiral, and you slid around and avoided the obstacles. And if you died, if you ran into an obstacle, someone could run over your corpse and pick you up. And you can have
played this.
Yes, you've played this. So you know how it goes. And it's hilarious. It's the funniest, one of the funniest mods, the most fun mods you could play in Warcraft 3 is Slide Ninja. There's a few other variations like Slide Kitty and some other ones, but my favorite version is Slide Ninja, where you're a ninja, you slide the whole time, and there's Linkin Park on chipmunk speed in the background.
Yes.
What more could you want in a game?
Yes.
It's just great. Really quick, some other great mods. Moo, which is a hero defense. You have heroes, and you get items, and you defeat waves and waves of monsters to defend Moo, which is your like town center sort of thing. Enfos hero defense. So Enfos, similar thing, except it had more like lanes that would travel down, and you would defeat them. Just a different configuration, but similar concept.
Isn't there like a Bejeweled one as well, where you fight one? Yes.
No,
we've played
look.
that.
I'll slide that onto the end. I hadn't considered that one. That is StarCraft mod, and that was a Bejeweled one. That one, I had forgotten about that one. Look, if we just say Blizzard mods and just keep it all in the
keep it all. Yeah.
Yeah. I must say, I am aware that Dota 2 also, some people had recreated some of these mods in Dota 2, and I played a few of them. They didn't feel right. They didn't feel the same. Maybe it was just the ones that I tried, but look, I just nostalgic, and it was just so easy to like have share the mods and that sort of thing for Warcraft 3. So, whilst Dota 2 gave it a bit of a go when they introduced modding, it's not the same. It's just not the same. But yeah,
I love
Warcraft
that our
3...
number 5s basically cheats. Our middle ground is cheating, both of us.
Look, okay, so it's not cheating in so much as none of these are full games, but the mods themselves are a type of...
You just casted a net and caught so many different games.
Yeah. It's like, if I say the modding capability in Warcraft 3 is my favorite game, well, okay, but the idea... You would...
It's like, what's your favorite game? I like to go to the arcade, and that's it. That's...
Yeah, but then you know what kind of games that is. It's like, oh yeah, you like those sorts of arcade games. Yeah, it's the thing. Anyways, so the last one on my Warcraft 3 mod list is Pokemon Tower Defense. Love a good tower defense.
Yeah, I've played that too.
Yeah. No, it's great. Anyway, so that's my number 5. Maz, your number 4.
My number 4. Okay, so this game, I had to think long and hard about including it because I no longer have a Blizzard account for reasons, and if you are a gamer, you also know those reasons. But I was one of the people that was deeply hurt by the "Do you people not have phones?" comment. So that's where it started to trend downhill for me. But my number 4, and I put a lot of hours into it, and I was very unhealthy when I started playing this, so it was a good solid 4 months of medical stuff that was going on while I was playing this. It's Diablo. Yeah, it's Diablo.
Yep.
And again, it's another beautiful world that I could sink my teeth into. There was a lot of lore. It was very rich. It was a universe that I wanted to spend time in, and it was immersive, and it had a lovely tone that I enjoyed personally. You know, it had like lovely mixes of like high fantasy and a bit of horror in there as well. Yeah, it was a good. That's lots of time was spent into
that. Well, look, those sorts of games are designed for you to sink a lot of time into, but when they make it enjoyable to spend your time in it, then it's just a deadly trap then at the end of it.
It's just a trap. Yeah, it's like I enjoy being in this universe, I enjoy being this character, I want to know how this storyline's going to play out as well. Like, I need to know the plot points as we progress. It is a bit of a catch-all, though, because if you noticed, I didn't say which Diablo.
Yeah.
You can figure that out yourself, because honestly, they're all freaking fantastic.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to include, like, if a game has, like, the original game and then a couple of really good sequels, just include them as the same franchise of game. It's fine. Unless one sequel was horrible and you deliberately exclude it, you'd be like, all of them except that one. So
in my notes it says Diablo PC, not phones. So there we go.
Yeah.
That's yep. But obviously recent events have swayed me from going back to the universe, which is really sad because it was a good, and I say that knowing that more expansions on that universe are coming out soon, and I'm not going to be partaking in it, so it's very bittersweet for me to even have it on the list, if I'm being honest. But
look, we can't deny that, you know, there's the whole, let's not get into the whole separating the art from the artist and that sort of thing, but
death of the author,
death of the author, all that sort of stuff. Like, just say, like, we are saying games that are, the criteria to be on this list is games that we really liked and really enjoyed playing, you know, regardless of anything else around it. Like, the game itself, is it a good game, and did we play, and does it mean something to us? So games that mean something to us are on here, that we really enjoyed playing. Whatever happens after that, whatever.
And it does. And I was really sick when I started playing this game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was mentally, it was the escape I needed. So yeah, it holds a place in my heart, and it's on the list.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. My number 4 is, again, totally different. It's another indie game, yet again. It's To the Moon. And I've talked to you about this one before.
Yes.
I tried to get you to play it, and you were like...
You tried.
I don't
so
get
hard.
it. Oh, no, what did you say? I can't remember what you said, but it was like...
I don't like point and click, I'm sorry. I tried.
Look, I'm going to describe it in a way that if anyone else goes to check it out, I'm going to say up front, it is basically a visual novel. Yes, it is basically a visual novel. I don't care, it's still a game. You still interact with the story in some way. It is it's one of the best stories. It's a romantic story. It's a, look, if I say too much about it, it's going to defeat the whole point of playing the game, but just say you probably need some tissues. It's a sentimental story in general. It is pixel art, so it is that same Stardew Valley type move around, top-down sort of view, and it is one of the best stories I've played in a game. It's just really well told.
You know what, Sar? Yeah. I'm going to revisit this game for you. Look, I'll revisit it. I'll play it for you.
Look, you do need to play the whole game together. It's like stopping like a few chapters in because nothing exciting's happened yet. Like, it's not an action game. It's not like a thriller. It's not a whatever. It does it's a beautiful game is what it is. It's a piece of art, and it's an experience. It's not necessarily strictly video game, but it is what is essentially a beautiful visual novel that I really enjoyed. It's still on this list, even though it's not really technically a game. There are lots of experience type games that are getting more popular, or at least were a little while ago. Well, they're still classified as games, so that's why it's on the list for me.
Think of Night in the Woods and how popular that was.
Yeah.
Like, games like that are telling a story. Like, yeah. It's even walking simulator. I know people like to shit on walking simulators, but no, it's the experience of the walking simulator. It's the experience of it.
Experience-based games is what I normally refer to them as. And even though this one's not you're a person, you're walking around, it's the same concept because you're not affecting a whole lot, but you are interacting and seeing a story unfold before you. So in the same sense, it's not the same as a walking simulator, but it is still an experience-based game that the experience is a really good, well-crafted experience. So that's my number 4. And I highly recommend that people go check it out. The music in it is beautiful, by the way. I will just say that the pianist in me really connected with that. So that's another reason why this ranks quite highly on my list as well.
It is very heavy piano music. I do remember that much.
Yeah. It's really good. Sorry, I'll stop talking about my number 4. Your number 3?
We're getting into emotional territory.
We are.
The thing.
As we get on.
as we get to our tops, we're getting really into it. Okay, so I was new to the Zelda franchise, relatively speaking. Like, I didn't have a 64 growing up, so I missed out on a lot of the Zelda franchise.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but I do have a Switch. Breath of the Wild.
Ah, yes.
Is fantastic. And it is, honestly, the price of the Switch is worth the experience of that game, and it has opened up the world of the Zelda universe to me, and it's given me another universe that I can explore now. So I've been going back and experiencing the other the previous entrants to the franchise, and really enjoying all of them. Especially like Link Between Worlds on the what's it called again?
Look, I don't hardly own any Nintendo consoles, so I have a DS. That is it.
DS, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, so it is on the DS. Yep.
Yeah. That's really bad. I forgot what the console was called. But
they've got a lot to be fair now.
There's a lot of consoles. But yeah, it's a great series. It's fantastic. Breath of the Wild is amazing. Breath of the Wild is also like a culmination of all of the previous storylines, because they do mix it up. It's a bit messy lore-wise. It's all over the shop because you do kind of have alternate universes butting against each other. But they had a monumental task of putting all those storylines into one game, and they pulled it off really well. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I don't know the Zelda franchise that well for pretty much the same reason. It's really a franchise that I knew of it, and I knew the main strokes, the main players, but and obviously being on the internet, you can't not see all that sort of thing. So it's only via watching Let's Players and that sort of thing that I really got more into knowing what all of the games and that sort of thing were about. And I kind of understand, but having not played it myself, not owning any Nintendo consoles at all except for a DS, when I first moved out, a little while after I moved out of home, I bought my first own handheld Nintendo console, or any sort of handheld console actually, in the form of a DS Lite. And that was my first Nintendo console, was a DS Lite.
Well,
considering,
let's just say it was the game of the year for a reason, and it is a damn good game. Obviously it is. It's just polished, and Yeah, but mainly, again, it's the universe that I would really like to tip my hat to if I was wearing one. Yeah, the universe of, the reincarnated hero, reincarnated evil, reincarnated princess, the 3 points of the triangle, the Triforce. Yeah, it's a really good story. And you've got, gods in play as well. Dead gods now, I'd say. And there's dragons. And I love dragons, and they have dragons.
Dragons your favourite.
Love dragons. Dragons are my thing. It's when you're talking about mythical creatures, and there's dragons. It's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a solid number 3, I think. Cool. So next up, just so we don't go like extremely long episode again, but it probably will be anyway. Next up for me, totally different. Number 3, Loadout. Yeah. So I don't know, Maz, if I have told you about Loadout. It doesn't exist anymore. It's really sad. So this is the story of a girl. No. I didn't cry any rivers. Didn't drown the world.
One time in band camp.
One time. Yeah. So Loadout is a third-person shooter. It's technically a gun builder simulator is probably a good way to describe the RPG element of this game. So what you do is you play versus either bots or versus players, or at least you did back in the day when it existed. You would play against people, you would level up your gun parts by using them. And you would get more gun parts by playing the games, getting currency to purchase gun pieces, and you would play games like Capture the Flag, Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, this weird one where you collected, it was kind of like you had to collect pieces and put them in I think you had collected rocks and put them in the bucket or something like that. Anyways, your basic kind of like Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch type, or King of the Hill type of game. So your basic first-person shooter maps where you played against other people. But
so why is it so high on your list?
Because it was just really fun. Like, okay, so you could take all these different pieces of guns. So when I say gun parts, you could choose to have a laser beam combined with a pulse type whatever, or maybe they're compatible, but and then a particular type of sight, a particular type of damage type. So you could have a fire laser beam that, tracked you could have tracking, or have a a lingering fire effect, or you could have something that launched mines, and it would all just depend. It's kind of like Lego guns. You could choose this part and stick it with that one, and you just create these crazy combinations of builds for your guns. And then the more you use that particular piece from your build, you would level that up so it got higher as well. So, and you could have healing guns.
It sounds like House Flipper for guns, if I'm being honest.
So a lot like
House Flipper for guns, like,
I guess, you would
eventually
unlock all the pieces, but then you would just like level up all the pieces, and you could just combine them in so many different ways. So you would name your guns too. So that's why it was called Loadout. So you would have your loadout of your guns. So I had one that it was like a mine bullet launcher, but it was really fast, and it would launch, and it would these little spiky balls. Rather than having bullets, it would have these big spiky balls. And I called it Misfortune because it was similar to a Misfortune character in League of Legends. And she would fire big, bullets out of her gun and bounce them off people and stuff like that. So I called it Misfortune because I was like, it's like a little bit. That's like cute. That. Yeah, so I just named it after the character.
It's clever.
Yeah. So it is a game. It was a really good, basically indie game. They couldn't, when the something to do with the GDPR or whatever sort of thing came in, they couldn't afford to change the servers to become compliant or something like that, or they just basically ran out of money to keep hosting servers. which is really sad. I think they're in the process of potentially rebuilding Loadout or doing a sequel or something like that, or at least there are there's some group of people working on that, which obviously hasn't happened yet. But Loadout was a really fun game that I spend a lot of hours in, like just playing with the guns, leveling them up, and just creating weird and crazy combinations. And the gameplay itself is just really fun, and it's really funny. And that's Loadout. Sorry, I did promise to talk not for a long time, and then I did.
Yeah, I think because we're getting so high on our list that we can't help but gush at this point.
I'll stop talking about Loadout. Do you want to talk about your number 2?
Number two started it all. Number 2 is The Beginning, and it is also a Nintendo property, I suppose, on my Game Boy. My number 2 is Pokemon Yellow.
Yes. That's a good one. We don't need to say anything more, do we? Pokemon. No. The end.
Red and Blue can fight in the freaking comments over who was better, because I don't care, because I was
Yellow is
into
clearly
Pokemon
superior.
Yellow. Yeah, I mean, you had Pikachu to follow you around everywhere. It was great. Thinking of, like, universes again, my goodness, the Pokemon universe.
Oh, man. Do we need to even say any more?
We really don't. It's an OG. It's a titan in terms of, like, trading cards, TV shows, and games. You will come back because it says Pokemon on the freaking box. You're gonna do it. I mean, just look at Pokemon Go for mobile games and things like that. But yeah, no, Pokemon Yellow started it all. I had to scrimp and save and beg because we're in Australia and everything is so expensive here, especially back in the day, to get a Game Boy and the games. The games were like $40.
There was something ridiculous. I tried doing the same thing to scrimp and save for a Game Boy and to play the Pokemon games. That was my goal, but I couldn't. I couldn't quite save enough in time, and I think it eventually got put towards like a shared console between the three of us children, and the PlayStation, and it was sort of more shared sort of thing, because you couldn't. I mean, I couldn't. One console expensive. For one person to have. What? That's crazy. No, you need to share.
You need to share. Thankfully, my brothers weren't as invested in the Game Boy as I was. So, I squeaked through. And also, there was a Christmas that was coming up. So, I think my parents gave me a little leeway there because I had saved up an amount to pay off the rest of the console. Yeah. So that I think they just chipped in the rest when Christmas came around. And then it was really easy for any family members, siblings, nephews, nieces, whatever, to just get a cartridge for me to go in that. So one Christmas it was just that and a bunch of, well, I say a bunch, I got like 4 games, but even then that was a lot.
Yeah, no, it would have been.
That was a lot of games, and those 4 games were the only games I had for that console for the entire time I had it for the Game Boy. That was it.
But you would have played them to death.
I did. The amount of car trips and everything, and it was just those 4 games. And honestly, Pokemon Yellow was more than enough. It was the beginning of
being immersed in a new world. Yeah, I reckon that would have been the like you said, the genesis for you of those sorts of games.
Yeah, no, that was the beginning.
Wow, wow, your origin story.
It's Pokemon. I'm a Pokemon trainer.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So cool. So my number 2 is this one's more of a series as well. Is Ace Attorney. Now,
yes, I love it.
Yeah, no, just randomly out of the blue, random DS, and so I played this on DS. Originally, like as I mentioned, my very first handheld console was a DS Lite, and one of the very first games I got on it was Ace Attorney, Apollo Justice. Yeah, so
such a good game. Yeah, no.
So obviously not the first in the series by a long shot, but I did go back and get the other games as well when I was like, this is great, I need more of this. And so I just love the Ace Attorney games.
What's not to love?
What's not to love? Like you it's got great writing, great story, great funny characters. It's very humorous. I love the humor in it. It's just really well done.
It's very JoJo Bizarre Adventure humor. It's great. It's also very quintessentially, there we go, got the word, Japanese, isn't it?
Yes.
Like, you can't see any other culture making a game like that, is the thing.
And it probably was one just even initially. There may have been other small things here and there around it, but it was one of my first introductions to anything that was like quite Japanese. Like, it was very much before that Western media and that sort of thing for me. But Ace Attorney definitely
unapologetically Japanese, I would say.
I think the only other sort of thing that was probably even, and it's not even because it's fantasy, is like I played Final Fantasy X back in the day, but not a lot of it. I had to borrow games from the video shop to play a lot of PlayStation games, so I tended to steer towards things that were like well known or I already knew were going to be good, because you didn't want to waste your pocket money on a game that turned out to suck.
No.
to rent it out for the week and try and complete it.
They were so expensive, and our parents just weren't willing to pay for that. And honestly, can't blame them, because they are ridiculously.
Exactly. We just made do with what we had, etc. But yeah, no, Ace Attorney, I don't think I need to say much more on that. Everybody knows what Ace Attorney is and why it's great. Look, I know it's quite high up on my list, but it is one of the first games that I played for my own console that I didn't have to share with anyone, like a handheld console I didn't have to share with anyone else. Like, I obviously had a computer that I saved up for myself before I left home, but it's different when it's on a console. Like, it's a very personal device. So
I have to say that your gaming history is a lot like the Thunderdome with your siblings fighting over time.
Yeah, it really was.
Who gets the PC? Who gets the console? No, we have to have a family console. I'm really fortunate in that my brothers weren't anywhere near as interested or fascinated with games as I was. So yeah.
All right. This next one deserves a drum roll. This is your number one favorite game. I'll put a real drum roll in there somewhere.
Okay, just put it in. Okay. You ready?
Yep.
This isn't going to be a surprise to anyone who freaking knows me. I'm cheating. It's the Elder Scrolls series.
Yep.
Called all of them.
I know I didn't say it, but I was thinking it in my head.
Yeah, anyone who knows me knows this much about me. Specifically Skyrim, I would say. But, I'm going to give the other games a shout out because the lore is interwoven wonderfully between all of the games.
Absolutely. Like, the lore is so deep. Like, that's your ultimate game. The lore is so deep. You would literally get lost in it.
I do.
Yep.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. And Skyrim has dragons. I mean,
it's your perfect game. I would say that, it's your perfect game.
Yeah, it's amazing. Even the other lands, like the Black Marsh, elsewhere, places like that, where the other races have come from, it's a good time. Like, even if you just want to look into the history of one race, go for it. The Dwemer fucking transmogrified themselves using a heart, so anything goes. Yeah. Some of it's tragic, though. The Snow Elves, it's quite sad. Horrifying, I would in fact say. There's a lot of, dirty politics throughout the entire universe, which is relatable. There's racisms, again, relatable. You got split factions. There's a lot there to sink your teeth into. You know, you've got the make Skyrim great again. You've got all of that. Skyrim is for the Nords, apparently. Well, I beg to differ. It's for everyone, and dragons.
Yeah, especially dragons.
Especially the dragons. I would, in fact, argue that Skyrim belongs to the dragons. They were there first. So take that, Nords. Yeah. No, it's a good time. You've got all of your different gods. You've got, the Daedra are fascinating in terms of gods, and they've all got their it's kind of like the Greek pantheon of gods, basically, where you've got all the gods that embody different aspects of humanity, and not all of them are squeaky clean, obviously, because it wouldn't be interesting otherwise.
Yes.
No, it's great, and the characters are great, and you've got so much lore there to work with. When I went to the expansion on Skyrim for the Morrowind, when you go visit the Dunmer, it's a good time. It's just a good time. But you're right. It's like the ultimate culmination of everything I love about games: the being immersed, the role playing, the universe. It's all there.
And dragons.
And dragons. There was plenty of dragons.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
Excellent. Cool. So your number one game, no surprise. If there was clues throughout the rest of the episodes you could have picked up on to guess that one. So if you didn't get it, well, that's fine. Like, you're not a mind reader. My number one is, and spoilers because we've already just done a series on this because, that's the thing. It's the Monkey Island series. You guys probably knew this already. I think I said it in one of the previous episodes. I said one of my all-time favorite series. When I sat down and thought about it, I was like, it is my favorite all-time series of all time. And I've already talked at length when we were playing through the first game, at the very least, of why I like what I like about it and why it's great. Good story. It's nostalgic. It is one of the very first games I played on DOS that I remember playing that wasn't like a, spell the alphabet and click on the things like child game. It was one of the first games I played that was a game. So I would say it was, technically speaking, the very first video game I ever played, which was, and I'll point this out, this was the demo version of the game that I played initially, so I didn't actually get to play the full game. Like, that's how much I love this game. So I played the demo of it on this little DOS computer, and it was definitely the game I've spent the most, and it was just like every now and then I'd just go back to it and play the demo. I'd play other games as well, but like one of the very first ones I remember playing, because I remember going back and playing it several times, which is why I remember it from when I was like a squidling, very small squidling, but I remember it that well. And I may have played other games before that I don't remember that didn't leave an impression on me. It was one of the very first games that I ever
Monkey
played.
Island destroyed the impressions of the other games. You just threw them out the window.
Yeah, like I'm sure
I
I started off on whatever like kiddie type game you would send in front of a 5-year-old, but I would say the Monkey Island series, specifically Monkey Island 1 being the very first one, the demo version of it, and then going on to number 2. I will say overall number 2 I think I like better than number 1. Only because there's some upgrades to the music and design and some other things that they made a lot better and improved upon in the second game. But they're still, in terms of every other aspect, just as good as each other. I only say number 2 slightly better because it's some technical improvements that they were able to do from the first game. So they just got better as they went, basically. Number 3 is quite good. It is definitely a different style. It's like cartoony, click and point kind of thing. Still quite good. Humor was still there. Number 4 does not exist. 404, Monkey Island 4, not found.
Not found.
Yep. We pretend that I definitely played it. I played it on a computer that could barely run it. Most backgrounds didn't render properly. They were just blank white, and a lot of the textures didn't render either. The game on the computer I played the number 4 on, so like you could tell if something could be moved or could be manipulated, because it would be completely textureless. It would be white, and you could pick it up and take it with you, and you knew what you had to do because it would be different and set apart from the background. So most of the time, in some cases it just would not load at all, but when it did run, I mean, that's probably more to do with the computer than it was to do with the game, but definitely if you weren't running it on a good system, you struggled. Anyway, so not only the experience of playing that game was not fun for me because it struggled on what was at the time an okay computer, I think, at least, I don't know, it was a shared family computer, but also everybody agrees most people agree in the Monkey Island community that it is probably the worst in the installment, and it was just a bad time. So we pretend that one doesn't exist. Tales of Monkey Island, technically the mythical fabled Monkey Island 5 episodic from Telltale Games, I quite enjoyed, brought it back to its more closer to the fun humor of the original games. I still don't think it's as good as the original 1 and 2, but it was still a good continuation of the series that did much better than number 4. Yeah, so that's my opinion on the whole Monkey Island series, and yeah, that's my all-time favorite game of all time. If you had to pin it down to exactly one of them, I'd say number 2. Yeah.
Yeah, we finally got here. It took us a while.
It took us a long while. This is going to be a really long episode, but that's okay.
I know. All I'm thinking is, like, how much can we edit out? Because we do gush a bit much, don't we?
Yeah. Look, it's fine. Look,
we're too invested.
We're invested. We told you guys at the start. We told you guys at the start that it was going to be a fairly long video, so whatever it ends up being, you're welcome.
Yeah. Enjoy part 1 and part 2 of us gushing. Yep.
Yeah. Our top 10 favorite games of all time, or at least the ones we remember, because if someone brought up a game like, yeah, I love that game, it's one of my favorite games, and it's not on this list, then, well, I didn't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was hard enough coming up with top 10, let's be real.
I had to cut a lot out, and there's a few I probably didn't even think of, so to all of the other games that I've played and loved, I still
apologize.
love you.
I would like to send out a full apology to the Silent Hill games. I know that you guys are the OG, just so that you know that. I acknowledge that you're the OG of horror games, okay? It's there.
And a special mention to all of the indie games that I love and play.
Yes.
That I didn't mention. Like, there was a fair few on this list, but to be fair, like, there's so many really great indie games that I think we could probably even later on do just a separate talky video about indie games that we recommend that people might not know. We probably won't try and cover any indie games that have already blown up, that are really big, so we might, for ones that we've discovered, little hidden gem type video, and people will probably still know about some of these ones, but ones that weren't not quite as big, like for example Stardew Valley. Everybody knows Stardew Valley, but anything that doesn't have a huge sort of following of sorts, we might even do a separate video on hidden gems in indie games that we've played in the past and really liked. So anyways, that's a story for another day. I'm gonna catch you guys later.
Bye.